Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back. Joel Rico here, gonna chat just a bit about the language of agreement. Consider if you're in sales, what you really do is talk to people. Make no mistake about it, you are a professional communicator, and your ability to host and facilitate these conversations in which agreements bubble up to the surface. An agreement is, sure, where do I sign? Right? Your ability, our ability to do that is everything. It predicates your entire success. So before you drop money on a fancy CRM and a special database and start buying leads from people, the most foundational, most elemental thing of your sales business is your ability to facilitate a conversation such that agreements come out of that. So I'm going to give you a little tool today that hopefully we can kick into place and that you can put into place right away. So the thing I want to take on today is called future pacing. The name is doesn't feel like what it really is. So future pacing, most people think of foreshadowing. This is totally different. So future pacing is a tool, and the tool is one that helps and coaches people to keep their word. So let this sink in for a moment. Think about in your business, have there been times when somebody made some commitment to you and then later that commitment wasn't honored? So what does that mean? As soon as I get my taxes back, as soon as I get my tax refund on the 15th, I'm gonna buy another house and I'll call you, we'll get started. Or as soon as XYZ happens, if we don't get an offer in 30 days, we're gonna reduce the price. And then 30 days comes along and they're like, what are you talking about? We don't wanna reduce the price. So think about the places in your life and in your business where somebody says, I'm going to do this thing, the XYZ, whatever it is, and then the time comes and all of a sudden they forget like they even said it. So what do we do about that? Are there tools? Are there techniques? Are there things that we can do to prevent this from happening? Absolutely. So this is the future pace. So let's break this down. A couple of very easy steps. I'm just going to give you the quick 30,000 foot, just a little quick streamlined version today. In the full curriculum, we dig in much, much deeper. So just the quick version. When somebody says, let's take an example. When somebody says, for example, if we don't have a accepted offer in 30 days, then we're going to reduce the price. So in my world, that's a commitment, right? On such and such a time, I'm going to do a certain thing. So instead of just saying, okay, great, and taking it at face value, instead, one of the things that's going to help the client be their word, one of the things that's going to help me help them stay in integrity, that this whole conversation is going to be in integrity. Remember, without integrity, nothing works. Let me say that again. Without integrity, nothing works. Nothing. So I want to be in integrity. I want my client to be in integrity. I want to help them to be in integrity. So when the client says something like, if we don't have an accepted offer in 30 days, we're going to reduce the price. Instead of saying, great, I'll write down 30 days, I'll call you. Instead of that, I want to say, I think that's a great idea. Step one, I want to agree with them. Great. I really appreciate you being sincere about this. And that feels like a good time. If we don't get an offer in 30 days, that's a good time for us to review as well. I'm going to write that down, right? Notice I'm kind of putting some structure around the agreement they just made. Then step two is I'm going to ask them, great, what's important to you about getting the house in contract in 30 days? And if we don't, bringing the price down to where it will. So why are you making this promise to me now? Why are you making this commitment? What I really want is I want to find their why. And I'm just going to ask, why are you making this commitment? And they're going to say whatever they're going to say. Well, we needed an escrow in so many days, and if we don't get an offer by 30 days, then that must mean that we were off the mark. And right. So what I'm really doing is I'm not only getting their why, but now they're getting to practice and role play. They're literally getting to practice what the conversation feels like to keep their commitment. Now, in 30 days, they're going to be having this conversation with themselves. Well, it's 30 days. Now, they've already practiced it with me, or in this case, with you. And so when 30 days comes up, they've already had this conversation. Well, if we don't get it in 30 days, and that means that we didn't get the right exposure, and it's time for us to make some changes because we missed the market. So the key here is, as deeply as I can get, the bigger the commitment, the more I want to build structure around it. If somebody says, hey, I'm on line 2, I'll call you back in a minute, that's not a big enough commitment that I need to build any structure around it. If I don't get an offer in 30 days, we're going to reduce the price. Yeah, that's a big one. In 45 days, when I officially retire, I'm going to put this house on the market and buy 2 others. That's a big commitment. So I want to put as much structure around that as I can to help that commitment come true. So again, step 1 is great. I think this is a great, step 1 is I want to agree with them. Great, that's a great idea, and I'll do everything I can to help you. And I'm jumping to the other example. And in 45 days when you retire, by the way, I'd love to come to your retirement party, we'll get this house cleaned up and on the market, and we'll look for the 2 that you're going to replace it with. It's a great idea. And then step 2 is ask them, why are you committing now to do this in 45 days? Or what's important to you about doing this in 45 days? What's important to you about selling this and buying those 2? Right? And then get their reasons, get their why. And what are they going to do? They're going to practice. I'm giving them the question that helps them to practice keeping their commitment. So that question is, why are you doing this? What's important about doing this to you? And they say, well, it's good for me here, and it'll do this, and it'll open this other door, and it'll allow me to do this. What am I doing? I'm getting all their justifications on why this is a good idea for them. Okay? Now, if it's a really big commitment, I could take it another step deeper, and we could say something like, what if this 45 days comes up and you're having second thoughts? Like, what are you going to say to yourself? What are you going to do to keep yourself on track when you have fears and doubts? How are you going to manage that? Oh, well, I'm going to remind myself. So what am I doing? I'm literally asking them the questions that is facilitating them to solve their own problem and to walk them through what it sounds like when they keep their commitment. This technique, I know this is just a quick little flyby, but this technique is gold. And the thing that trips off this technique, the green light that has me think, oh, this is the place right here for this technique, is when somebody makes a commitment to me. When they say, I will, I promise, in 30 days it's going to happen. As soon as this happens, I'm going to do that. When the client makes a commitment, and it's not something that we can do right now, right? If we can sign the contract now, that's even better. But if it's some sort of a commitment, something I'm going to do in the future, right? It's future pacing. So I'm pacing them to be their word for whatever this thing is in the future. All right, so that was the down and dirty, 5-minute version of how to fly through that really quickly. So practice this technique. Remember, people are pretty quick to make promises and they don't always hold them. So I want to hold them able. I want to do what I can to support them in being their word the very best that I can. So I hope this is helpful for you. This is just a little quick snippet of the language of agreement. And if you haven't already done so, please go to the site. There's a bunch of free trainings and some free videos there. I hope it makes a big difference for you in the world. What else? The next live, interactive, 12-week participatory workshop for the language of agreement launches February 21st. That's 2 weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow. There's a handful of spaces left. And if you're committed to take your sales game to the next level, right? More important than what CRM you use, more important than what leads you're buying, this is learning the tools to get whoever you talk to, get them into agreement. This is your number one job, is to set up agreements with people. So sign up early and get into that workshop. And then next week, I do this Facebook Live every week. Next week, we're going to be doing agreement frames. So how do we set up agreements when somebody says something, we don't really like that? What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. What? How do we still create an environment of agreement when I have 2 or 3 people that have different opinions? How do we get them all into agreement? How do I get into agreement when the client says, I want 6.8 million for my house? And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? How do we generate agreement for things that are out around? So we're going to take that on next week. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this made a big difference for you. And again, our next live workshop launches in 2 weeks. So if you're interested in that at all, come check it out. And that's it. Have a great week. Have a great day. And as usual, go make a difference in the world. Help as many people as you can. Thanks.